Eric here with Team Eccentric, and I'm especially excited. I went to the sneak peek for Dark Neostorm over the weekend, and I actually managed to get Mermail Abyss Alacia, and I am so excited to show you guys the deck profile on it that I'm playing now, what I've been testing with. It's been working rather well. You know, some things I might change in this build just because of the way that Alacia functions, but overall, Mermail Abyss Alacia definitely helps this deck establish its turn one boards. It's a really good disruptor, especially if you have Atlantean heavy infantry in hand, or even marksman, depending upon what your opponent's playing. It's just generally a really good card, and if it's destroyed by your opponent, it does like some really ridiculous stuff. So I'm gonna get right into the profile, guys. I'm also gonna be bringing you guys my side deck. Like, this is essentially the list that I've been toying around with, and it's honestly been working rather well, at least for me. So we're gonna get right into it. Obviously, we start off with one Moulin Glacia, just being able to rip 2 cards from your opponent's hand. It's just ridiculous. I am playing one lead. This is one of the cards I was considering changing. However, you know, when in the combos that it comes up, it's really integral and really strong. So Mermail Abyss lead at 1, obviously. I've been playing triple Megalo standard, and Megalo is your OTK button, so you want to be able to have access to it as soon as possible, so that the moment you can drop it, you can try and kill your opponent. We're playing triple Teus, obviously. Mermail Abyss Teus, obviously, you ditch 1 water and then special summon it to search a level 4 lower Mermail. So that's the thing. We're playing double Mermail Abyss Gun. This gun just revives something when it's discarded. It doesn't have to be discarded by water or anything, as long as it's discarded, not sent. So 1 for 1 doesn't work on it, but you can discard it off of frogs, you can discard it in any way, shape, or form. You can even discard it off of a nightmare, and it will revive one of your Mermails. And then we're playing 1 Pike. Pike just searches for your guns or your marksmen. It's really generally kind of just a starter in case you don't draw any of the bigger Mermails as a way to discard Dragoons. It just allows you to start off your combos by ditching Dragoons and searching for another combo piece. So that is it for the Mermail component of the deck. Now we're getting into the Atlanteans. Playing, obviously, the triple Neptibus, best starter in the deck. So this card is just ridiculous. I love this card. 1 Deep Sea Diva as essentially an extra Neptibus. That's essentially what it's here for. It does a lot of really good things in combos too, though. Even if you're not summoning off the Neptibus, like, you could summon this and then summon heavy infantry, get another normal summon. It's just overall one of the strongest starters in the deck. Then we're playing triple Atlantean Dragoons. Standard, you know, this is the searcher. This is essentially the searcher for the big sea serpents. Basically, any sea serpent in your deck, you can search this. By the way, there's a card that came out that's, oh well, it hasn't necessarily officially come out yet as of this deck profile being filmed. But there's a card, Xyz Slide Dolphin, I believe it's called. And it's a water level 4 sea serpent that can be special summoned. If you Xyz summon a monster, it can be special summoned from your hand, and then if it's in the graveyard, I believe, if you Xyz summon, you can attach it to a monster as material. I've been considering testing that, honestly, and honestly, it looks like it could be a really niche, kind of cool tech card. I may test it out in maybe Second Mermail or something like that. But as of right now, this isn't Second Mermail. I am playing Spell and Trap line, or a spell lineup. So, but either way. So we're going to continue on into it. We have double heavy infantry just to be able to pop stuff, as well as get that additional normal summon, which allows you to get into Alacia actually really easily. And then 1 Atlantean marksman just to be able to have that access to pop face downs if need be. So that's it for the Atlantean engine. Now we're getting into the supporting engines, the frogs namely. Obviously I do play the toads in the extra deck. That's kind of a obligatory staple, so I figured that playing the frog engine can't hurt. Not only that, I mean, this just allows you to link climb, and it makes Abyss Alacia so easy. I mean, Abyss Alacia essentially can make toads for you as well, so that's a thing. And then after that, we play 2 Gamma Seals just to be able to tribute over your opponent's problematic monsters. You could play 3, but I feel like 3 can get a little cloggy. You don't want to see multiples of it, in my opinion, because then, you're not really, it's not a contributing factor to any of your combos other than just being a water to discard. and it doesn't get any effects off of being discarded, so it really doesn't do too much other than just out problematic monsters. And then last but not least for the monster count, we have 3 Ash Blossom in the main, just because Ash Blossom is like the most standard hand trap, just being able to negate generally anything that's special summons from deck or adds or anything like that. So that's the thing. That's it for the monster count. Now we're getting into spells. Triple Called by the Grave. This card, if you're not playing second Mermail, if you're playing Mermail but not second Mermail, this card you need to play at least 2 copies of this in the main. I only opt to play 3 because I figure this card actually allows for really skillful technical play, depending upon what matchup it's against. Like you can do stuff like, use this on Salamangreat, like when they send Spinny, or if they do anything like that, or with Jack Jaguar, you can use this against if your opponent has a Thunder Dragon Colossus and you kaiju it. Let's say for example, your opponent has 2 Colossus, you have Gameciel and Neptibus, and this in hand, you Gameciel over one of the first Colossus Called by the Grave, and then second Colossus's effects are negated, and then you can go off with your plays. I just think this card is very skillful and very, very smart, so I like that. After that, we're playing double Moray of Greed. I actually dropped it from 3 to 2, only because I noticed that I was seeing a lot of multiples of Moray, and honestly, seeing multiples of Moray can only be good if you have enough water monsters in hand, and if you draw into water monsters off the first Moray, and that can be kind of situational. So playing 2, I feel, is kind of optimal, because it just gives you the capability to keep shuffling back your hands, but you're not going to see 2 of these in hand, and then they become in essence dead. 1 Abyssal of the Mizuchi in the main. This card, honestly, it's just meant mostly to buff your Megalos so that you can go in for OTKs. However, obviously it can negate spell cards depending upon what your opponent is playing. It's actually pretty decent against Sky Striker. That's definitely a thing. So I'm actually I opted to cut the Moray for 1 salvage. The reason why I actually play the salvage is, let's say for example, you use maybe a Diva and an Neptibus or something like that, and then you have these in hand. You can salvage them back and Moray. So honestly, this just fuels a lot of your plays. Not only that, it allows you, if you have Frogs Engrave or anything like that, it allows you to fuel plays for Abyssal Asia, or maybe even make another Toad or anything like that. It's actually a really generally good card. It's not really that great in your starting hands if you don't have a combo that allows you to utilize it in the best way, but it is strong. It's a +1 in terms of card advantage. It's really strong. So then after that, 1 for 1, because it's an extra copy of Neptibus, so 1 Monster Born to bring something back, and then 1 Upstart Goblin. Just to dig into your deck, I've been considering cutting the Upstart Goblin, but I feel like it's enough draw power to have 2 Morays and 1 Upstart. I feel like that's actually a pretty decent ratio there. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Now we're going to get into the extra deck, and the card that I am so excited to bring to you guys, Mermail Abyssal Asia. I've been waiting for this card for a year and a half now. Essentially what this card does is the monsters that it points to gain 500 attack. Doesn't matter if they're water or not either. So as long as it points to monsters, they gain 500 attack, which is really good for setting up Abyss Gaios or making a Megalo big enough to attack over something or anything like that. It's really good. But so its other 2 effects, you can only use each of them once per turn. Its first effect is during your opponent's turn. Quick effect, you can actually discard 1 card from your hand to the graveyard, and then add 1 Mermail from your deck to your hand, which is really significant because let's say you end a combo with this and a heavy infantry in hand. If your opponent attempts to do anything, you can disrupt their play by discarding the heavy infantry, adding any Mermail from your deck to your hand. So you can add a Mermail Abyss Teus, you can add Gun, depending on how you want to mold your future combos, and then you discard the heavy infantry, and then the heavy infantry will activate on a different chain because it was discarded as cost for this effect, and then you get to pop something. Or you can do Dragoons to get another Search, or Marksman, whatever. It's actually really, really good. You can even, there were in test hands, or Connor and I did test a little bit with some of the new cards out of Dark Neostorm, and when I was testing this, I even discarded a Prince to bring back something on my opponent's turn. Not only that, being that it's a Mermail, it's actually really strong because being a Link 2 Mermail, if you discard a Gun to bring it back, let's say for example you have this Engrave, Swap Frog in hand with a Gun in hand, you can actually make a Borreload right off of that. It's actually really, really nifty. So this card is amazing. Honestly, this is easily one of my favorite cards in the extra deck. After that, we have Borreload Dragon. I mean, it's standard. 1 Saryuja Skuldra just to be able to dig deeper into our combos. one Topologic Trizbana just to out back row, because back row can be a problem in this deck, and if you can at least manage to summon this and then put maybe a Swap Frog or something, or like banish for a Ronin, and there's just something like that just to clear out the back row, it can win you a game. One Mistar Boy. Honestly, I know that a lot of people are cutting or have been considering cutting Mistar Boy for Abyss Lacia, but honestly, the reason why I'm playing Mistar Boy is because if Abyss Lacia goes to the graveyard and I have no way to get it back, no searchable way, but I have a way to put 2 waters on board, I can go into the Mistar Boy, crash, and then go into the Abyss Lacia, which can just kind of mold plays so that I can, loop my Abyss Lacia. I mean, obviously you could play 2 Abyss Lacia if you really wanted to, but I feel like that's kind of redundant. And not only that, but if you put Abyss Lacia and Mistar Boy on the board, it's just like 1,000 attack boost for whatever Abyss Lacia is pointing to. And then if they're water, they gain that as well. So after that, one Nightmare Phoenix just to be able to pop back row. It's kind of a mini Trizbana. It's just really, really good. Not only that, if you put it next to the Borreload and you summon it, and you get to discard and to draw, so that's actually a thing. And then one Linkuriboh, just to obviously link off your Prince and protect your board. So that's it for the Link monsters. Honestly, Abyss Lacia, by the way, this card is amazing. I love this card. So there's that. Now we're getting into the Xyz monsters. Playing one Mermail Abyss Gaios. You set this up next to Abyss Lacia, and literally your opponent, it's a 33 body that negates anything that's below 33. So it's kind of ridiculous. One Dracosack. The reason why I'm playing Dracosack is for there's a first turn combo where you can rip 3 cards from your opponent's hand and end on Abyss Lacia with an equip spell, things like that. I'll show you guys. All it takes, I believe, is Mermail Abyss, Teus, and Dragoons. If I have time, I will show you the combo. So stay tuned for that. After that, we're getting into the rank 4s. One Bahamut Shark for the Toads. One Abyss Dweller, because I mean it's the best card in the extra deck essentially for Mermail, because you get Dragoon searches off of basically shutting your opponent's graveyard off. And then double Totally Awesome, because I mean Toad is amazing. So that's it for the Xyz monsters. And now we're getting into the Synchros. One Cyphering Lord Omega. This goes to the 3-card combo. Sometimes depending upon your hand, you can do a 4-card hand loop. It's not the most optimal thing, but it can happen. And then after that, one Brio, because you summon this and you can bounce your opponent's Thunder Dragon Colossus, which can actually win you games. So that's the thing. All right, and now we're getting into the sideboard. Now the sideboard is a little bit interesting. I've been kind of toying around with a lot of different theory crafting, and this is kind of the best thing that I came up with so far, at least in my opinion. So we're playing the Gammas. Now, the reason why I'm playing the Gammas, I actually talked about this in a duel video that I played recently. The reason why we're playing the Gammas is if you notice, the Frog package is the exact same amount of cards as the Gammas. So I use the Frogs for going first. So if I know I'm going second, if I know my opponent's trying to set up a board, I side these out and side these in. And even if they don't, resolve during my opponent's turn, let's say, for example, I have Moray of Greed and then this, my opponent attempts to Ash the Moray, I get a free Cyphering Lord Omega. It's just, honestly, like, side deck theory for Mermail is especially important right now. In a format where we have Thunder Dragon Colossus, you really need to have side deck theory down. So I figure that that's kind of a way that this deck can function, in some kind of an optimal fashion. Obviously, Mermail isn't that competitive right now, but the deck is still playable. It's just all about theorizing and figuring out how you want to go about building the deck and making sure that your plays go through. And Gammas are essentially mini called by the graves for your Morays, as well as just being able, not to be called by the grave itself. It's just really strong. So then after that, we have double DD Crow. Now, originally I was siding 2 Ogres, but I decided to do the DD Crows because I figure this card is actually really good against Salamangreat. It's actually over the top good against Salamangreat. Like, literally, the moment they target their trap card to add it back, you just DD Crow it, or the moment they Reincarnation Link so that they can reset their counter trap, you just DD Crow it. It's just ridiculous. It's so strong, it literally turns their entire board off, or makes it so that any resources they just committed to get their cards back so that they can set up their little turn 1 board, it literally just stops them. So that's the thing. And then after that, side 2 Twin Twisters, obviously, for back row. And then this is actually kind of an interesting idea I've been thinking about. I've honestly been wanting to side these for a while. I just could never find the room, with having to side things like sphere modes and things like that. But now we're in a format where Danger Thunder Dragon isn't as strong because, Phantom Sky Blaster got hit and things like that. So we are able to side some more interesting techs. I'm actually siding the other two Abyss Scales. Now, the reason why I'm siding the other two Abyss Scales is because this one negates monster effects, this one negates traps, the one in the main negates spells. So, and they all give attack boosts. So like you can side both of these in and have all three. You can, gauge them. You basically just gauge whatever matchup you're playing against, and then you side in whichever one or two is more prevalent. And the best thing about the Scale of Satis is if it's equipped to a Mermail monster, if it's like on the field and it's equipped to a Mermail monster and your opponent tries to activate a counter trap, it actually negates the counter trap. And the reason why is because it doesn't chain when it negates. It just negates whatever card is resolving. So your opponent, like let's say for example you have a Pike equipped to this already on the board, and then you attempt to, let's say, normal summon an Neptibus and then pay cost for its effect, and your opponent activates Solemn Strike. This negates the Solemn Strike. They still pay the cost, they still pay the 1500, but it negates the Solemn Strike because it's not a chain effect. It's a continuous effect that just negates the first trap card that would attempt to resolve. So it's actually really decent. So that's it for the spells and the side deck, and now we're going on to the traps. So obviously we're siding the triple evenly matched for back row decks, just being able to out the back row decks, or even being able to out just big monster boards that can't negate evenly matched. It's just ridiculous. Like, evenly matched should be in your side deck. And then last but not least, for the last two Infinite Impermanence. If I had the third, I'd be siding the third probably over this. But I figure that, these kind of work in a similar way. It's just this one is more, it's more aggressive. This one is more reactive. So it's just kind of like, trying to mitigate that, and balance that out. But either way, obviously we all know what Infinite Impermanence does. It's actually a ridiculous card. It's just amazing. But that's it for the side deck, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I will attempt to do that combo. Alright guys, so I'm going to show you a combo that you can do with Mermail Abyss Lacia. It starts off with generally two cards. You can just do it with Teus and Dragoons, but a third card, Atlantean Heavy Infantry, actually adds an extra level of disruption, which can be kind of devastating to your opponent depending upon what deck they're playing. So I wanted to show you guys this combo. Just to show you guys just the very minimal, the very minimum amount of what you can do with the new Mermail Link monster. So we're going to start off this combo. And again, generally all you need is Mermail Abyss, Teus, and Dragoons. But Heavy Infantry, like I said, it just adds an extra level of disruption. So you reveal Teus, and you discard your Dragoons. Now you go Chainlink to 1 and 2. So 2 will search Gund, and 1 will search your Deep Sea Diva. Then next, you normal summon your Deep Sea Diva, and you special summon your Neptibus. You pay cost with Neptibus, you send Atlantean Dragoons to the graveyard, and you add Atlantean Dragoons from your deck to your hand, and then Dragoons will add Megalo. Okay, so now you link off the Neptibus and the Mermail Abyss Teus, and you go right into your Mermail Abyss Lacia here. The opposite side of where you summon the Diva. It doesn't matter which side you do it on, as long as you normal summon the Diva in the opposite, like in one of the ends, and then Mermail Abyss Lacia is on the other side in the extra monster zone. So now you're going to reveal Megalo, and you're going to discard your Dragoons and your Gund. Then you're going to go Dragoons Chainlink 1, and then depending upon how you want to chain block, you can go Gund Chainlink 2, Megalo Chainlink 3. So Megalo Chainlink 3 will add your Biscella Mizuchi. Gund for Chainlink 2 will special summon back your Teus, and I normally special summon it under the Mermail Abyss Lacia. And then Dragoons will get you a search for your Mooling Glacial. So now you can go and overlay and go right into your Dracosac, and then after that special summon the Mooling Glacial. You don't want to special summon it in your other monster zone that Mermail Abyss Lacia points to. You want that zone free. But now you just ripped 2 cards from your opponent's hand. Then after that, you detach from Dracosac to create 2 tokens. They're both level 3. And remember, D.Va is a level 2 tuner, so that equals level 8. So you synchro for level 8. Go into your Cypher Mode Omega effect to banish and then rip another card from your opponent's hand. Activate your Abyss Skeleton Mizuchi and equip it to Mermail Abyss Leisha. So it gains 800 extra attack points, and obviously the spell would be negated. And now, this is where the heavy infantry comes in, because now if your opponent's turn starts, and they do have some kind of a play they can make, let's say they're playing Salamangreat and they have they normal summon something, you can go Mermail Abyss Leisha on the summon, discard this for cost, add another Mermail monster. So let's say, for example, you wanted to add, let's see here, you wanted to add Mermail Abyss Pike from your deck to your hand. Now you trigger the heavy infantry on a new chain and pop whatever they summoned. That's why the heavy infantry can be detrimental. That's why I put it in this combo. It's not necessary to resolve this board, but in order for Mermail Abyss Leisha to really be able to be effective, you need one of the Atlanteans in your hand so that you can ditch it and then pop something, or ditch it and special summon something and things like that. Like that's what Mermail Abyss Leisha essentially allows this deck to do. It essentially allows you to actually play on your opponent's turn and disrupt your opponent's board. So that is a very basic, kind of minimal combo that you can do. There are obviously way stronger combos depending upon what you draw. That was just kind of a 2-card combo, well, 2.5-card combo, I suppose you could say, because heavy infantry was in hand. So I guess that would be kind of a 3-card combo. But again, this isn't necessary to actually perform the combo. This is just necessary to disrupt your opponent's turn. But either way, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Really appreciate your guys' views, anything you guys can do to support us. We really appreciate all of it. And I will definitely be bringing you guys Mermail content now that I have Abyss Leisha. Obviously, I know it hasn't officially been released in the TCG yet, but I did go to Sneak Peek and I managed to get 2 of them. So I will be also building Sekka Mermail with Abyss Leisha just to test that out as well. But nonetheless, guys, really appreciate it as always. Eric here with Team Eccentric, and I'm signing out. Rate and subscribe, leave your comments and ideas in the comment section below, and don't hesitate to give us respectful suggestions on content you want to see. Eric on behalf of the team saying take care, and Team Eccentric out.